Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to stay updated with our latest video. The press called her a gold digger. The judges said she was greedy. Anna Nicole Smith married an 89-year-old billionaire, but she was more than just a Playboy model. She was from a small town and got out of poverty after a 15-year legal fight that went all the way to the Supreme Court. She died without getting any money. Now that Dannielynn is 18, she is finally telling everyone about the real mom behind the news stories and the strange signs that show Anna is still watching over her from beyond the grave. Jane Smith was born Vicki Lynn Hogan in Houston, Texas, on November 28, 1967. Her parents split up when she was less than 2 years old. Her mother Vi May Hogan raised her in Mexia, Texas, a small town of about 6,000 people. Her father wasn't around for most of her childhood, so it wasn't easy for her to grow up. She had trouble in school with both her studies and making friends. She started high school at Mahia High but had trouble keeping up. She moved to a different school in the 9th grade, but she never made it past the 10th grade. Even when she was a teenager, she had bigger dreams. She looked up to Marilyn Monroe and wanted to be famous, but her life was going in a different way. In 1982, when she was only 14, she quit school and went to work as a waitress at Jim's Crispy Fried Chicken in Mahia to make money. It was there that she met Billy Wayne Smith, a 16-year-old fry cook. They quickly became close, and on April 4, 1985, when Anna was 17, they got married. On January 22, 1986, she gave birth to their son Daniel Wayne Smith. Her marriage didn't work out the way she had hoped. Anna later said that Billy was jealous and demanding. He didn't want her to hang out with other people or go on dates. She had enough by the middle of 1986. She broke up with Billy and went to Houston with the baby. Daniel wants to start over. She worked at Walmart and Red Lobster and any other job she could find, but it wasn't enough to support them. She had little money and had a difficult time getting by. She had no other choice but to work as a dancer in strip clubs. It wasn't what she had planned, but she had to do it to pay the rent. Then, she did something brave in 1992, she sent Playboy magazine naked pictures of herself. Hugh Hefner and his team reaped significant rewards from their risk. By March 1992, she was on the cover of Playboy. She stood out because she looked a lot like Marilyn Monroe and was very pretty. The next year, in 1993, she was named Playmate of the Year, making her one of the most famous models in Playboy history. Her life changed very quickly. Not long ago, she was having a difficult time making ends meet by working in fast food places and strip clubs. She was now being photographed for magazines and asked to high-class events. Fame opened doors for her, but it also meant being in the news all the time, which she would have to deal with for the rest of her life. Later that year, in November 1992, Paul Marciano, co-founder of Guess Jeans, offered her a big modeling job. He saw in her the same star quality that had made Playboy's viewers love her. Her real name was still being used at the time, but Marciano suggested a change. Together, they gave Anna Nicole a name that became famous all over the world. It was impossible to forget her first push for guests. She took over as the brand's face from beauty Claudia Schiffer at a time when thin, waif-like models were all the rage. Anna Nicole's plump body and Hollywood glitz gave the business something new. The black and white advertising photos that were based on the famous style of Jane Mansfield became instant classics. Her name became even more well-known when she got jobs with big names like H&M and Lane Bryant. With modeling success came a new chance. Movie stars. In 1994, she got parts in 2 big movies. She played Tanya Peters in Naked Gun 33 and was in a third of The Final Insult with Leslie Nielsen. Some people liked her in the movie, but others didn't, and she was even up for Worst New Star at the Golden Raspberry Awards. In the same year, she had a small part in the Coen brothers movie The Hudsucker Proxy. It got good reviews, but her part wasn't very important. Even though Anna Nicole was criticized, she kept going. She did more than just act and model. She was turning into a brand. In 1993, she was a model for H&M and was shown on huge signs all over Sweden and Norway. Her work with Lane Bryant shook up traditional ideas of beauty and showed that Kuvya models could also work for big fashion brands. As her work went on, she became the face of the diet supplement company Trim Spa. The support caused a lot of trouble with the law, but it kept her in the public eye. No matter what people said about her, she always found a way to stay important. And Nicole Smith met J. Howard Marshall too, a millionaire, at Gigi's, a Houston strip club, in October 1991. At the age of 24, she faced financial difficulties. She worked the day shift because she was still learning how to dance. She wasn't the blonde bombshell she would become later. Marshall was 86 years old and sad. He had lost both his wife and his longtime lover earlier that year. His driver suggested a night out to cheer him up, and that's where he met her. Her real name was Vicki Lynn Hogan, and she grew up in Texas. For money to support herself and her son Daniel, she dropped out of high school and did several jobs. She had been a waitress at Red Lobster and Jim's Crispy Fried Chicken. I always wish my life was better. That night at GI's, she danced to Christ's The Lady in Red, and Marshall was so taken with her. He asked her to lunch the next day and gave her $1,000 before she left, telling her not to go back to the club. From then on, he gave her many expensive gifts. He gave her a red Mercedes and lots of gold. He paid her $4,000 a month for what he called coaching. He asked her to marry him many times, but she didn't say yes right away. She got her first big modeling job in 1992 when she posed for Playboy. She won Playmate of the Year the next year. Even though her job was going through the roof at the time, Marshall was still set on marrying her. They finally got married at the White Dove Wedding Chapel in Houston on June 27, 1994. He was 89 years old and she was 26. There were only 11 people there. Marshall was in a wheelchair, and Anna was wearing a satin dress with a deep V-neck. The flower boy was her 8-year-old son. This was her second marriage. She married Billy Wayne Smith when she was 17, but they were no longer together. He had 3 before this one. After 30 years of marriage, his second wife died of Alzheimer's in 1991. The wedding was over very quickly. Anna left for a picture shoot before the night was over. Marshall cried as he sat in his wheelchair. People couldn't get rid of that picture. They saw it as proof that the motive wasn't love. They thought she married him for one reason, money. Before the wedding, Marshall had already given her a lot of money. He bought her homes, horses, gold, Rolls Royces, and more. Some people thought she was a gold digger. After the fact, a federal judge said their relationship was a mix of need, greed, and lust, but Anna denied it. In an interview with Larry King in 2002, she said Marshall gave her more than money, love and respect. She also said she had turned him down many times before finally saying yes because she wanted to start her own business first. But there was a catch. Marshall supposedly promised her half of his wealth, but he never put it in writing. His will didn't even specify whether she had married him for financial gain. She was about to find out how wrong she was. He died on August 4, 1995, only 14 months after they got married. He was 90 years old. Then began one of the longest and most heated court cases in history. Smith believed she received half of her late husband's wealth. Rich man J. Howard Marshall, who had a $1.6 billion share in Koch Industries, didn't want to leave her, but he did. She told him had offered her a share if she got married, but his son E. Pierce Marshall denied it. He said the will was final, but she had no claim to it. Smith wasn't the only one who fought. J. Howard Marshall III, another son, was not included in the will. Howard Marshall III was left out of the will because he tried to take over Co-Industries. He said that his father had told him the same thing verbally. He got nothing, just like Smith. Smith had money problems in 1996. After losing a sexual harassment case brought by her son's former nanny, the court told her to pay $850,000. She couldn't pay for it, so she went bankrupt in California. This was because any money she might win from Marshall's estate now became part of her assets, allowing the bankruptcy court to assist her. Then there was a giant win. In 2000, a bankruptcy judge in Los Angeles gave her almost $450 million. The value of Marshall's Coke Industries shares had increased significantly during their marriage. But the win didn't last. A Texas bankruptcy judge said the next year that she was not entitled to anything and that she had to pay E. Pierce Marshall over $1 million in legal fees. Now that two different courts had made different decisions, the case had to be heard in federal court. In 2002, a federal judge cut her award to $88 million. But in 2004, a higher court threw that out, saying that federal judges couldn't go against what a state court said. The case had reached its end point until the U.S. Supreme Court did something about it. The Supreme Court found in her favor in 2006. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's decision didn't give her any money, but it did say she could keep fighting in federal court. It was a step forward, but her fight was far from over. The Anna Nicole Show was an instant hit when it first aired on August 4, 2002. People were interested in the life of Anna Nicole Smith because it was so chaotic and uncertain. She used to be a Playboy model and was having a difficult time now. During its first season, the show was the most watched on E!, showing that people couldn't take their eyes off of it. At times it was funny, but at other times it was sad. Smith tried to figure out how to live her life after fame in the show. She was experiencing financial difficulties due to years of excessive spending. She was also in court over the estate of her late husband J. Howard Marshall. There were weird parts of the show that felt like they were staged, like when Smith was trying to fix her evil dog or when she and her strange interior designer Bobby Trendy got into a fight. There were real flashes of pain, though, in between the planned chaos. Daniel, her teenage son, often looked awkward on camera as he watched his mother's life become a public show. People didn't like the show. Jon Stewart called it an evil, and many people thought it took advantage of Smith's personal problems. People who saw her thought she might have been drunk during shooting because of her slurred speech and strange behavior. Afterward, it was said that directors made her more hyperactive by giving her a lot of Red Bull. The show didn't help her, instead, it made her problems worse. Even with all the problems, the Anna Nicole Show ran for 2 years, finishing in 2004. At that time, many found Smith amusing. Every move she made was in the tabloids. She fell on stage at the 2004 MTV Video Music Awards, spoke slowly, and asked the crowd if they liked her body. It was meant to be funny, but it was clear she was having a hard time. People knew about Smith's drug problems before the show. In 2007, she accidentally overdosed on Valium and chloral hydrate, which were prescription drugs she had been taking. Instead of receiving help, her constant acting and mood swings thrust her further into the spotlight. Even her son Daniel looked embarrassed at times because he was on a reality show that was making fun of his mother's pain. On June 1, 2006, Anna Nicole Smith told everyone some critical news. She said she was pregnant in a video on her website. After a few months, on September 7, she gave birth to a girl in the Bahamas. Her name is Dannielynn. Stern said he was Dannielynn's father. Even though his name was on the Bahamas birth certificate, renowned photographer Larry Buckhead said that wasn't real. He sued, saying that he was the real father. When 2 more men came forward, things got even more confusing. Fred Prince Fonenholt, Zaza Gabber's husband, said he had been seeing Smith for years and thought he might be Danny's father. Alexander Dank, who used to be her bodyguard and cook, also said he might be the father. As news of the paternity case spread, new information about Smith's pregnancy raised questions. Reports said she was given methadone under a fake name while she was 8 months pregnant. The California Medical Board started an investigation, but the doctor who wrote the prescription said the treatment was acceptable, so the board didn't do anything. Finally, a court in the U.S. stepped in and ordered DNA tests to find out what really happened. But before the case could be over, tragedy struck again. Smith was found dead in a Florida hotel room on February 8, 2007. The hospital quickly took her in, but it was too late. She had died from taking too many narcotic drugs. Buckhead's lawyer asked for an emergency DNA sample from her body right away, but the judge said no. The court said that her body should be kept safe until February 20. They arrived at the end of April 2007. A judge in the Bahamas said that Larry Buckhead was Dannielyn's real father. He quickly changed her birth certificate and got a visa so he could bring her to the United States. Stern didn't appeal the decision, but there was one more thing he could do. Smith's mother, Vi Arthur, tried to appeal the ruling so that she could have her granddaughter back. The court denied her request and even instructed her to pay the court fees. Because of the court cases, Buckhead brought Dannielynn home. Even though the paternity case was over, the damage was already done. She lost everything 3 days after giving birth to her daughter on September 7, 2006. Daniel Wayne Smith, her 20-year-old son, died while visiting her in the hospital on September 10. He came to see his new half-sister, but he never left. Later, an autopsy proved that methadone and antidepressants killed him. An overdose was ruled an accident by a Bahamian jury, and a death certificate was given on September 21. No charges were brought against anyone. He was laid to rest at Lakeview Cemetery in New Providence on October 19. Anna was crushed. Howard K. Stern, her lawyer and close friend, said Daniel was the most important person in her life. She raised him alone and saw herself as both his mother and father. When he died, she had the box opened and tried to get inside. She did not wish to give up. She stated, "If Daniel has to be buried, I want to be buried with him." Stern said that she was already dead the day after she died, even though it took months for her body to die. During her sadness, something out of the ordinary happened. Anna and Stern made their promise to each other in secret in the Bahamas on September 28. A Baptist minister led them in vows and rings, but it wasn't a formal marriage. There was no license, it was just an act. Anna's Nassau lawyer later explained that they needed something to hold on to after everything they had been through. Ceremony pictures were sold to People magazine for $1 million. Anna was already living in the Bahamas at that point, which caused even more trouble. Some thought she was trying to avoid a pregnancy test for her new daughter, while others thought she was trying to get away from the chaos in her life in the U.S. Late in 2006, Shane Gibson, the Minister of Immigration, gave her legal residency. Soon after, a nearby newspaper ran a picture of Anna lying in bed fully dressed and hugging Gibson. Gibson quit because of the strong reaction from the public. On February 8, 2007, Anna Nicole Smith was found unconscious in her hotel room at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Florida. The bodyguard and his wife, a trained emergency nurse, tried to bring her back to life with CPR. She was taken to Memorial Regional Hospital in Hollywood by paramedics, but doctors there said she was dead. She was only 39 years old. Joshua Perper, the medical examiner for Broward County, looked into her quick death. To figure out what happened, he worked with the Sano police and outside investigative experts. A drug overdose was the stated cause. The main drug she took was seditious chloral hydrate, but she also had 4 benzoazepines, dianhydramine, and topamate. There were no illegal drugs found in her. That drug methadone, which was linked to her son's death months before, was in her bile. That meant she had probably taken it 2 or 3 days before, so it wasn't the main cause. It also found other health problems during the exam. She had sores on her face from getting vitamin B12 and human growth hormone shots in the past. She also had a virus that may have made her weaker. There were no signs of influenza A or B. One thing added to the difficulty of the case: she was high on 11 drugs, and 8 of them were given to Howard K. Stern. 2 of them were for Alex Katz, and 1 was for her therapist. Dr. Christina Rochevich confirmed that she had written all of the prescriptions. Smith's funeral took place in the Bahamas on March 2, 2007. Her will, which she signed in 2001, years before her daughter was born, turned into a legal fight. It named her son Daniel as the only beneficiary and Howard K. Stern as the executive. It also explicitly omitted any future children. That meant her daughter Dannielynn, who was only a few months old at the time, wasn't invited. Her estate had personal items worth $10,000 and a house worth $1.8 million, even though it was indebted for $1.1 million. After she died, David Buckhead, a photographer who was later proven to be Dannielynn's father, got involved in the fight over the estate. Smith's mother Vi Arthur sued TMZ, CBS Entertainment Tonight, and several reporters and blogs in 2008. She said they spread lies about her to hurt her image. She also said it made it harder for her to get custody or visitation rights for her granddaughter. One blogger was jailed for refusing to hand over a computer as proof, which made the case more serious. But in the end, the lawsuit was thrown out. The court agreed with the news sources. Dannielynn Buckhead has been famous all her life, but she has never let that define her. Nicole Smith and photographer Larry Buckhead had her in September 2006. When she was 5 months old, her mother died. The craze in the media that followed could have changed her whole life. But Larry decided early on that he would raise his daughter away from Hollywood and all the chaos and try to give her the most normal life possible. Dannielynn is now 18 years old and ready to become an adult. She is full of confidence, goals, and her own unique attitude. Her 18th birthday in September 2024 was not like any other. She didn't want a normal party, so she had a Beetlejuice-themed one. Because she loves dark glamour, she wore a spiderweb print dress with dramatic sleeves and black lipstick to fully commit to the theme. She stood with a Beetlejuice-clad actor, flashing peace signs and being herself, which is always fun. Larry was very proud of her and wrote in a heartfelt letter, "May you always be humble and kind. I am so proud of you." She likes being in the spotlight. In her own way, but her main goal is to do well in school. She wants to double major in forensic science and Japanese studies. This is a mix that she came up with because she was interested in both as a child and in high school. The fact that she has always been interested in mysteries and solving problems made forensic science an effortless choice for her. Japanese, on the other hand, became her interest after she learned the language and culture in school. She still doesn't know what her plans are for the future, but she wants to make a name for herself apart from her mother. She has always been creative and has never been afraid to say what she wants. She is excellent at playing and has gotten praise for her roles in school plays. Larry only posed for kids when she was 6. It was a tribute to her mother. He turned down all modeling offers after deciding to put her childhood ahead of possible fame. But Dannielynn still has big hopes of starting her makeup and clothing line, mixing her love of art and fashion. Even though she had a strange childhood, she and Larry have made their life full of fun and excitement. They have been to events together, including one of their favorite nights, a Duran Duran show. Another big holiday for them is Halloween. They make their artistic ideas come to life every year by coming up with crazy costume ideas. Another favorite is going to amusement parks. Dannielynn, who is always willing to take risks, insists on taking roller coasters without his hands. She tells Larry, "Do not hold on to me," so he doesn't ruin the fun. Privacy has always been important to Larry, and he has done a lot to keep his daughter from hearing background noise. When she was younger, he stopped her from searching the internet on her devices and secret her Instagram account. At the same time, he has been open about Anna Nicole's legacy, making sure Dannielynn knows more about her mother than what she saw in the news. In a playful way, she has found her own way to keep things fun. She loves making fun of her dad by sharing embarrassing pictures of him online. Such behavior shows that their relationship is based on trust and fun, even though Anna Nicole died when Dannielynn was a baby. Her presence is still felt in everyday life. Butterflies have become a sign of closeness and a small reminder that Anna is always close. In Dannielynn's bedroom, there is a picture of her mother who is always there. She and Larry were obvious in 2025 that they would not believe any lies about Anna's death. When false news stories from the media came back to light, they made a strong statement saying, "We prefer to rely on living credible sources." Hugh Jackman asked Dannielynn to come backstage after his Broadway show in January 2025. It was one of her biggest dreams come true. Larry, who had been a fan of his since childhood, knew how to make her Christmas even more special. He gave her front row seats to Jackman's show as a surprise and